So we've gotten these peanuts harvested, and this is what they look like. We've flipped them up so that the nuts are up in the air. Shook off as much of the dirt as we could, and now we're just going to let them hang out here in the sun until until there's a threat of rain, but no more than 10 days. So we'll come back and keep an eye on them, and then the next thing will be to take them off the plants. So this is a batch of peanuts. These were the ones that fell off the plant while we were collecting them. So these are still very, very wet. You'll see the wet clay sticking to them there. And these are just out on, so this is the plastic tray that is under your little seed packs. When you buy little seedlings from a greenhouse or somewhere, this is the tray that's under it. And it has, let's see here. This is the one that has the solid bottom, but it has some little holes in it. You also sometimes will see the ones that have X's under here instead of being solid. Those don't work as well because your smaller peanuts will fall through. But this works really well. And what I do, because we have pretty sandy soil, other than that section of clay you can see causing a mess there. But because we have pretty sandy soil, I can actually put the peanuts on here and then shake it like a sifter and sift all that sand out of the bottom. And then, so these I'm going to let sit here and dry. I have them on my back porch, in a screened-in porch. I have the fan running to make sure they get plenty of airflow. And we're going to see which ones dry the fastest. We're kind of doing a little experiment. So I have 3 versions. I have the plants that are out in the field, where we left the peanuts on them and just flipped them over, and they're laying out in the sun. We're going to let them dry there. Then I have these here that I'm going to let dry in this space. And then I have some inside my house that I took out of the shell. And we're going to see which way dries fastest, and which produces the best product. So I wanted to show you, this is partly why I wanted to get these peanuts out of the ground so quick. Some of them are actually starting to sprout. So this is your peanut shell, and when you pop that open, you can see, whoop, nicely formed peanuts. But unfortunately, these are a little past. I should have actually already harvested these. So see how dark they are inside? You want them to be dark on the inside, but this is a little over dark. Plus, if you look, so that's a pretty good peanut though, actually. It's starting to shrivel a little bit. You can see those little wrinkles there. But it's definitely one I'll hold on to. But this one, so I was giving them too much water while I was on vacation. And I should have stopped the water when I went on vacation, but I didn't. And so I had some that did this and started to sprout. Kind of looks like a swan there, doesn't it? So this is your seed. This is your actual peanut, the part that you would eat. And inside the peanut, let me see if I can, sorry, I'm trying to do this while I'm holding it. So when you open it up, be gentle, and you'll see. So the peanut, the part that we eat, is actually the seed for the next plant. So this is where it is trying to sprout and become a new plant. And these two pieces of peanut are like the yolk for an egg, and they're going to feed this little plant. So this end would seek out the ground, the dirt, and then it would sprout like this. And as it got bigger, these little peanut shells would fall off, and the little leaves, which you can see those little leaves right there, they would take off and become a peanut plant. I'm sorry if that's blurry. It's trying to it's trying to focus on different things. But yeah, so life cycle of a peanut right there. Pretty cool. Here's how I've been harvesting these peanuts. So by hand, of course, everything's a little bit more difficult. We don't use a tractor for this. Our rows are too tight and we just don't have the equipment to harvest these. So we took a pitchfork, got them out of the ground, laid them up on top of the ground on that soil there, nice dry soil there, and let them sit for, let's see, how many days has it been now? 3 days, 3.5 days. I wanted to let them sit much, much longer, but we have a tropical depression coming in tomorrow, actually tonight. So I have to get these out before they get rained on. They have dried quite a bit though. You'll see the plant has dried up significantly. Leaves have turned mainly brown. You'll see the peanuts on here. So the way I'm getting them out of the field is I'm taking the plants and grabbing them up off of the ground and then throwing them in this little garden cart. And then bringing them over here, putting them in a pile, and my dad and I have been sitting and chatting and pulling them off and then dumping them into these baskets. You can see we've done quite a bit already. There is some debris in there, so I'll go through and sort those a little bit better. But you'll see here various different colors. Some are darker, some are lighter, some are bigger, smaller, formed differently. The other thing I wanted to talk about was where we had a little experiment going on. So the peanuts in this tray were the ones that were not allowed to dry on the plant. So these fell off when we were harvesting, and I just brought them home, set them out here on the porch, and have let them dry. And then these up here were allowed to dry on the plant for 3 days before I had to take them off and set them out here to dry. Now if you look, so there's a lot missing from this one, and that's because they have been molding and I've been pulling those off and discarding them. You'll see still some more mold going on, shriveled up ones. So these have just not dried well. So you've got a few that are okay, but not a good overall yield off of these. So you really need to let them stay on the plant and dry as long as they can, because these are in much better shape. I'm going to get much more yield out of those than these. Okay, so you've harvested your peanuts, you've dried your peanuts, and now if you listen, you can hear how dry they are. And so to tell if they're ready, the easiest thing is just to crack them like that, and you should hear that snap, and then inside you'll have your nice beautiful peanuts. And so if you look at these, you can see how the inside of this shell is white. That's why I have this immature peanut in here. So this one wasn't all the way ready when I picked it. What you really want, you want more like this on the inside. And the way you can tell that without opening it up, see these darker ones? And the way you can tell that without actually opening up your peanut is take a knife or your fingernail, and you're going to scrape the outside. And so you can do this with it still on the plant, or you can pull it off and check and see how dark that is under there. that's showing you the darkness on the inside. So when I do this, it should be more filled out and have a darker inside. See that? See that nice dark? And then you have pretty much perfect peanuts. These could have gone, these actually may have gone a little too far. Where's the one I just had? So see, that's actually a little bit too dark. So you see where I scraped and how it corresponds to the color on the inside. Let's see if I can find you. So these darker ones like this, also got a little bit of mold growing on it. Will probably not do very well. Will probably not be filled out well. Yeah, it's not as good of a crack when you squish them. And then if we open this one up, sorry, doing it one-handed makes it a little bit more difficult. So we open that one up, and yeah, so see how it's white? That one wasn't ready yet. So you get these little shriveled up looking peanuts. Here's the other two. Well, but yeah, so you get the point. So give these a good crack, and you end up with all of this. And then from this stage, you're going to put them in the oven. And I'll come back to you with that stage. Here, the peanuts are looking really good. And if you look, I don't know if you're very familiar with the peanut plant, but if you look down in here, there's their little blooms. They have these very small yellow blooms. And I'll put a picture up of how a peanut creates an actual little peanut. Because it's really cool and different from most things. But these are looking good. We got the grass out of them today.